Hey guys, welcome to another episode of LFA Shop. This week, we're getting back on the Cuore. We're going to get the front bags installed. So if you haven't seen this car, it's a 2001-ish Daihatsu Cuore. The back is tubbed and airbagged, and we did a full reshell and respray and a whole bunch of stuff on this a few months back. So it's got a full air system in the back. I added front valves and all the controllers and everything for the valves and all the lines. So we just need to get the front bags in. We've got to put the front bumper on, and we've got to put mud flaps on, and that's pretty much it. It's ready to go. It does run and drive. I just need to sort out the front end. So this car, when I bought it, had the rear bags done. I just pulled it all out, put a whole nother car inside, and went through everything and tried to get rid of all the problems. But this car's never had front airbags. So I've got just a regular strut in there at the moment, and you can see it's all normal and fine. And then if you come over here, I've got the new airbag strut to go in, but this diameter is too big and it actually rubs on the strut tower. So I've started making new strut tops and the bolts for the knuckle down the bottom. So I've started making those a few weeks ago, got a bit lost and never got back to it. So I'm gonna have to start with the top, bring it out as far as possible, and then fix the camber with the plates down the bottom. So it's gonna be a bit of a pain, but let's get into it. So first things first, I've got the original strut top and the new ones that I've started making. These are 6mm plate steel, or 1/4 inch I think it is. So I'm going to smooth these off because they're quite jagged. I've only just cut them out and put the 2 bolts through them. And then they sit in the car like this. So this would be your passenger side and this would be your driver's side. Front of the car's here. So what I need to do is move the bolt hole for the top of the strut out to get the bag away from the inner guard or the strut tower. So then move this over, and then I have to compensate down the bottom obviously. So what I need to do is grind these nice and smooth, bolt them into the car, work out what angle they're on, and then move the bolt hole out as far as I can, given the room on the top of the strut top, which is only this big anyway, not this big. So I'll grind these smooth, bolt them in the car, and then we can work out where the bolt hole is going to go. Okay, so I've just ground these down and chucked them in the car. So you can see here, this is the mark that I've put on it for where I want the strut top. So the original one is pretty much dead center. And then the way that the angle's on, this is a little bit further back and then all the way out obviously. So I'm going to try and fix some caster and the camber at the same time. So I'm just guessing. This isn't any kind of science. I can't really work out how they're going to fit without just doing it and seeing if it's right or wrong. So I'm just going to do this and then hope for the best, and hopefully whatever's wrong I can fix at the bottom, because that's when I'll be able to start working out if things are right or wrong. So all we're after here is to bring the strut out and get that bag off of the strut tower. So I'll drill this out and hang a bag in the car and see how it fits. Alright, so it's been a few hours. I've had this thing apart and back together a million times. I didn't quite get the camber bang on. It's a little bit positive at the moment, so I'll probably have to move that top one across a little bit. But this is as low as I can get it to go, because the bottom of the strut is hitting the CV, and then the strut is also fully collapsed. So I probably should have got a shorter shock when I bought the bags, but you don't know that until you do it. So that's as low as it'll go. It is tucking tyre, so at least it'll look pretty decent. And then if I let it down, it's got a fair bit of travel, which is good. And then that would probably be fully up. So it's probably 4 or 5 inches of travel. So it's pretty decent really, but it's not exactly what I was after, but at least the front will go up and down and the back will go up and down, so it is airbagged all around. It just won't lay like a frame in the front. There's a lot of work to make that happen, and I'm just not gonna allocate the time for this. I just wanted to airbag the front in general, so that is done. I'm just gonna do the other side and then work out the camber issues, and then we're all good to go. So another issue I'm running into is the hose for the air. Comes from about where the indicator is and comes into the back of the bag. I'm not sure if that's going to be in the way when I start doing turning, so I'll have to work that out tomorrow as well. But the plan is tomorrow make the other strut work, fix the camber, work out the airlines. I'll try and get it to go up and down, put it on the ground, and then drive it and make sure everything works and doesn't scrub and doesn't touch. And then we can go from there with some finer adjustments and then finish off the car, putting the bumper on, headlights back on and all that sort of stuff. So I've had to pull the guard off a bunch of times, so I just left it on with a couple of screws. So the bag's in, and because we moved the top across, I can get my hand in the back here, and when it's up and all of this is compressed, or sorry, when it's down and all of this is compressed, there's still a finger width between everywhere around here. It is a lot tighter than it is currently, but it does all fit. And then when it airs out, this plate here goes up and pretty much just clears this, and then is pretty much as tight as it can be. Down the bottom you can see the strut, which is this part here. It's pretty much touching the CV, so I can't go any lower down there. And then the tyre and the bottom of the airbag are pretty much touching as well. There's maybe 5mm in there, and that's pretty much as tight as it can get. So I've had to cut this and bend it out of the way, and it also moved the wiring loom up so that the airbag doesn't touch any of that stuff. So I feel like it's pretty good. I just need to move this over a little bit. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that just yet, but we'll have to work that out tomorrow. Alright, so we're back on the Cuore again today. Yesterday I got the driver's side mostly finished. The camber's still wrong, but the rest of it's all done. I need to pull it apart and paint it, and I got to work out the airline. And now we're on to the passenger side. So I got to pull all the stock stuff out, make up the new top plate, which I've already done, but bolt it all together, hang the bag in there, and then tack weld the bottom section together, try and get the camber right like I did on the other side, fully weld it out, and then get it on the ground and see how good the camber is or bad the camber is, and then adjust it up the top. So what I think I'm going to do is die grind the hole out a little bit, so it's a bit of an oval, and then move the camber to where it needs to be, and then weld a like 6mm plate washer essentially to hold it in place, in or out where it needs to be to get the camber right. And then once I've done that, I can get the airlines working, and then once the airlines are in, pull it all apart, paint it all, put it all back together, see if we can make this thing move. So like I said, the first step is to take the stock stuffs out, so let's do that now. But before we do, I'll just come around to the driver's side. You can see the airbag in there, which I showed you yesterday. So what the plan is there's quite a pin up the top here, which you can't actually see on camera. And then you can see the top plate, so I'll put a little washer on the inside and weld that in place. So the welds don't look fantastic, but they will hold. I'll show you now. There you go, on that plate down the bottom. So let's pull this other side apart. Alright, so I've got the stock stuff out and put the bag in with the new top hat that I made. I've loosened off this wiring, so again we're going to have to cut down here and over here and fold this piece of metal up out of the way so that the bag doesn't rub, because it's currently touching through here. And then unfortunately the valve is on the exact same side as the other side, so that the little like shock dampener guy to be at the back or similar. So the valve's going to be on the front rather than on the back, which is a little bit annoying because on the other side it's around this way. But if I do that, this will be right at the front where this needs to go. So it's going to have to be around this way, which is a little bit frustrating because I'm going to have to run the hoses differently either side. Shouldn't matter too much, but it's just a little bit annoying. And then I've made these plates, which I cut down. I showed you earlier, but I've cut them down since. So these go onto the bolt holes of the stub axle, like that. And then these get welded on to the strut, like that. And then this will bolt to the strut. So I'll just tack them at the top, and then I can set the camber a bit better, and then weld them on fully. So it's a little bit tricky to get all this started, but I'll show you once it's all clamped together and tacked, and then we'll go from there. But same on left as on right, essentially. I've got the strut mocked up here, so we've got the two plates with a bolt through them. A little bit of persuasion was required. Those holes are a bit out, but it's all bolted together now. So then I've clamped the hub and the two brackets to the strut with this clamp. So it's all pretty much as close as it can get, same as the other side. So this is like really close to the bottom of the strut. And then obviously this is as close as it can be. Everything's got plenty of clearance back here. So I'll tack these two, put the wheel on, see if the camber's about right, and if it's not, adjust it accordingly, and then tack the bottom, and then make sure it's all pretty sweet still, and then pull it all apart and fully weld these on either side, and then put it all back together again, put the wheel on, put it on the ground and see if everything's actually playing ball. And while I've got it all apart, I'll also cut this and bend it out the way. So I've just got the strut fully welded. I'm not particularly happy with how it's come out, but it is what it is. The welds look horrible and there was a big old gap, so it's not great, but it'll do the job. I also got some rubble delivered, so I'm going to get the rubble spread behind the shed and down the side so I can get the concrete done. So I've got 32 tonne delivered so that we can get the rest of that done. Just got to wait for this to cool down and then I'll put it back in the car, and then we'll put this thing on the ground and see if it works, see if it looks right, see if I need to add camber, take camber out, see what I need to do. So I just got the second side all together. Here goes, I guess. Just checking clearance. Let's put it down and see how low we can actually go. Alright, that's it. It's pretty low. It's probably about 60 mil in the front and 10 in the back, so can't complain about that. And then there's probably 50 mil clearance in the front for the engine and everything, so it's not too bad at all. Maybe a little bit smaller tyres next time, it probably wouldn't go astray, but that's pretty good. So that's all bolted up, everything's actually good. It could roll like this. I need to add the air lines still, but this one's being a bit of a pain and hitting where the brake line is. So I'm probably going to need to get a braided line for either side to mount to the body and then have the airline so that it doesn't rub on everything. You can't really go a whole bunch lower anyway because it's going to hit here very soon and hit here very soon as well. But for what I'm doing, that is fine with me. That looks pretty good. So let's try and get this thing running again. Alright, first test.